1983 was a big year for Tom Cruise, as he had not one, not two, not three, but four movies in theaters by the time the year was out. One of them, Losing It, would sink without a trace. Another, The Outsiders, would see his role virtually removed in the cutting room. The third, Risky Business, would make him a superstar. And the fourth, All the Right Moves, would become a perennially underrated favorite among fans, such as myself. So, let's dive right in and discuss why All the Right Moves has all the right Cruise. In August of 1983, Risky Business became an unexpected smash hit, grossing $63 million domestically. Pretty big deal for 1983. It would become the 10th highest grossing movie of the year. 20th Century Fox must have been thrilled, as they didn't produce Risky Business, but they had another already wrapped Tom Cruise movie in the can, All the Right Moves. A modestly budgeted drama directed by the famed cinematographer Michael Chapman, who shot Raging Bull and much of Martin Scorsese's early work, the film told the story of a high school football player named Stefan, played by Tom Cruise, whose only shot at escaping his blue-collar town, which is lorded over by the spectre of a coal mine his father and brother both work at, is through an athletic scholarship to college. Luckily, he has, as the title says, all the right moves. Way too short to be a professional player, with the movie generously giving his height at 5'10", although he's probably more like 5'7" on a good day. He wants to get himself educated and dreams of becoming an electrical engineer. He's determined not to fall into the trap many of his friends have fallen into, in that once they graduate high school, they settle down with their girlfriends, get married, and have babies. In the movie, this happens to the character played by Chris Penn, who's his best friend in the film. He gets his girlfriend pregnant and has to turn down a scholarship to school in order to stay behind and marry her. Cruise's character, Stefan, is single-minded in his determination to succeed, but this puts him at odds with his coach, played by Craig T. Nelson, whose own history is strikingly similar to Stefan's. The two butt heads, and a prank gone awry leads to the coach blackballing Stefan, ending any hope he has of an athletic scholarship in one fell swoop, dooming him to a life in the coal mines. Now, All the Right Moves is a terrific movie not enough people have seen. For one thing, it's extremely evocative of its time. The early 80s were brutal for small towns such as the one depicted in All the Right Moves. These towns all sprung up around the various industries, in this case coal, and for the parents of the kids in a movie such as this, they were able to lead pretty good lives, with good wages, and were able to support their families. But this is the start of the recession, where plants were shutting down and people lost their jobs and livelihoods overnight. Towns such as the one in this movie were decimated, with many of them now a shell of their former selves. The town this was shot in, Johnstown, is currently the poorest town in Pennsylvania, with 38% of the population living under the poverty line. The town has also been ravaged by the opioid epidemic. How did we get here? Watch All the Right Moves. In a lot of ways, All the Right Moves is a pretty brutal indictment of the way small towns were left to rot in the 80s, but is dressed up as a teen movie. Cruise is terrific as Stefan, with his mounting desperation and need to escape brilliantly conveyed. Perhaps the best part of the movie revolves around his romance with his girlfriend Lisa, played by Leah Thompson. There's a lot going on in the relationship. Stefan is desperate to have sex with her, but she holds out. She doesn't want to tie him to her small town, or herself for that matter. She realizes something heartbreaking, that the opportunity that he's getting to escape via an athletic scholarship is something she could never dream of doing. Like pretty much everyone else, she's going to be stuck here after they graduate while he goes off to college. She doesn't resent him for this. Rather, her heart breaks for him when she sees that he's going to be trapped, just like his friends. There's an amazing scene where she has a heart-to-heart with the coach's wife, played by Sandy Faison, where she begs her to use her influence to get Nelson to drop his grudge. They acknowledge how similar they are, as they were both smart girls in high school who fell in love with these golden boys who eventually left town for greatness, leaving them behind. The coach's wife knows what the stakes are for Stefan, and she's also desperate for her husband to end his vendetta, which is going to come to nothing. All it's going to do is destroy this young man's life, and she knows it. Yet, while Craig T. Nelson could have been playing the film's villain, he's made entirely sympathetic. The movie introduces him grooving in private to a pop song the boys are dancing to in the showers. He's a funny, nice guy, but circumstances put him at odds with Stefan to the point that he thinks the headstrong player has vandalized his home and endangered his family. This makes him feel powerless, and he's blinded by a need to get even. But he also won't open his eyes to the fact that appearances can be deceiving and that Stefan is not who he thinks he is. All of this was probably lost on the teen audience that made All the Right Moves a modest but hardly overwhelming success at the box office. It grossed $17.2 million, which was about 3 times its budget. Not bad. In the years since, though, this movie is known mostly as the film where Tom Cruise and Lea Thompson get naked. But there's way more to it than that, and notably on that nude scene, Cruise himself wasn't supposed to get naked during the love scene, but he didn't think it was fair for Lea Thompson to be singled out, so they both wound up doing the scene nude, and it became a scene that was often rewound over and over and over again on VHS copies of the film. While a modest movie, All the Right Moves has an interesting, gritty look as you'd expect given that Michael Chapman directed and Jan de Bont was the cinematographer. Funny story, one of the producers of this movie was none other than Lucille Ball of I Love Lucy, although this sexy R-rated drama is probably pretty far removed from what she was known for. The lady was pretty with it seems, and down with the times. My only issue with the movie is that the soundtrack could be better. They were clearly trying to sell albums with it, but outside of the title song, which is pretty decent, none of the tracks they're pushing hard made much of a dent on the charts. The end credits actually promotes the soundtrack over the cast, which is very strange considering this is an actor-driven drama. But then again, Flashdance had just came out, and the soundtrack made as much money as the movie. In the end, All the Right Moves' biggest legacy is that it probably landed Craig T. Nelson the sitcom that made him a star, Coach, with him playing a character that's strikingly similar to the one he plays here. It's ripe for rediscovery and one of Tom Cruise's most underrated movies.